Yeah, so there's some things to discuss. Again, as always. Otherwise, it'd be very weird for us to be gathered here if there's nothing to talk about.
Right, and we got plenty of things to talk about. There's a few things I think that we haven't talked about that we probably should. Christopher Nolan's next movie. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
No.
They just announced, I think, this morning. Which, by the way, you guys probably aren't going to hear this for a while. So we recorded this sometime in the past.
Sign up for Patreon, you'll hear it immediately.
Oh, yeah, exactly. If you don't want to be disconchronobobulated, then get on that Patreon. But Zendaya, Tom Holland, Robert Pattinson.
Wow.
Yeah, Robert Pattinson was announced today.
Yeah, I knew about the Zendaya and Tom Holland. Pattinson is new.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what he's cooking up over there. I know I want to see it, though.
Yeah, so we don't know what kind of movie this is yet.
We don't know anything. I mean, it's kind of like when Sanderson does his his new books or whatever, his secret projects. I don't need to know anything other than that he's writing it. You know?
Yeah.
Same with Nolan. Oh, Christopher Nolan's making it?
I'll be there.
Go ahead and give me a ticket.
Yeah.
You can charge me now.
Right. What does it say about Nolan when he brings someone back? I mean, obviously he likes working with them, but he more so than most directors has a tendency to bring people back.
Yeah, I mean, other than what the guy that did the Sam Raimi,
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that Nolan. Oh, Matt Damon is also in it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that Nolan, man, I think he has an incredibly unique style of directing, and I don't mean the visual style of the film, that too, to an extent. But if you look at the visual style of his movies, a lot of them are wildly different, right?
Yeah.
I think he has an actual style to the act of directing a movie. The way he runs the set is very specific. I think he doesn't like to give his actors a lot of direction. I think he will if he needs to.
Yeah.
But I think he wants to be able to sit down and be like, this is the script. We want to play it this way and go. You know what I mean? And I think that when you have a very peculiar way of working, there's going to be certain people that fit in to that or don't.
Yeah, that makes sense. And he is you can tell that he's a really unique kind of guy to make those kind of movies. So I can definitely see him finding someone who fits well with his style. Not that other actors are bad, but just he works well maybe with certain actors who don't need certain notes or cues and kind of understands what he's doing.
Yeah. I think he doesn't allow the monitors right on set.
Oh.
Where they they'll shoot a scene and then everybody will gather around the monitor and watch it.
Yeah.
He doesn't allow that shit. He's like, you're going to waste. Every time we do a shot, we're going to waste 3 minutes,
Yeah.
So he doesn't do that. I think he doesn't take any bathroom breaks during the shooting.
Wow.
And obviously they can't tell the cast they can't. But he prefers that people not. Mm-hmm. No food on the set either. I've heard that as well. So I'm assuming that he's going back to the fictional realm, whatever he's doing. I would imagine so. He just got done with that, biopic.
Yeah.
And
well, he really dropped a bomb with that one.
No, you don't get. You better be lucky you have the soundboard, because otherwise you wouldn't get that shit. Yeah.
So I always a hater.
We're the only ones here. So by definition, I guess I had to be, if there's always one. And it's just you and I.
Oh, we got juniors here.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Well, there's nothing but joy in this heart.
That's true. Yeah, look at him.
There's not one sip of haterade in them bottles. Not one. Is he double fisting those bottles? He is.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Yeah. So you ain't never seen a baby double fisting bottles like that.
If you're just listening to audio, you're probably immensely confused right now.
Yeah, we have a baby Deadpool popcorn bucket that's just sort of become part of the set. I kind of just left him over here because I'm a bad father.
And I just never moved them because I don't want to touch children.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he's just here now.
So here we are.
Yeah. there's been some other really cool things that happened. Right now, there's an interesting rumor going around about the Superman trailer.
That it's going to be December 15th, which is what, the 40th anniversary?
I think like 45th or something like that.
Of Superman 74 or whatever the fuck we're calling it now.
Of the OG Christopher Reeve Superman movie. But another source said that the trailer would be attached to the Mufasa Lion King movie, which is also sometime in December.
I always forget that's going to be a thing.
Right.
I don't want it.
Yeah, I don't think the movie's going to do very well.
No, I was actually, today, I was talking to some folks, and they were asking me, like, what movies I'm going to go see for the rest of the year. And I was like, Wicked, Craven, and there was one other. Something coming out in December. I can't remember what it is. But I'm like, yeah, that's probably going to be it.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot more left. Obviously, Craven, whether I want to or not. I'm going to go see Gladiator sometime. I might try to see it this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to Gladiator. I'm just not a huge... Like, I like the original movie, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it in probably 15 years.
Yeah.
And I'm probably just going to wait till it comes out and watch it. And I'm typically not that person.
Mm-hmm.
I've also...
the cast.
Yeah, the cast looks incredible for it. It feels creatively devoid. You know what I mean? It feels like any of these other Hollywood movies where they're like, hey, after 30 years, we're gonna make a sequel because we don't have any ideas.
Well, that is true, but the fact that Ridley Scott's doing it, I do have more hope for this movie.
I'll probably really enjoy it because Ridley Scott.
Yeah,
I mean,
the only thing missing is that it doesn't have Sigourney Weaver in it.
That's true.
So
that we know of. Yeah,
she could be one of the gladiators.
Yeah, she's playing. She's playing Denzel Washington, who is playing Denzel's character.
See, now I'm just confused.
She's a chick disguised as a dude who's playing another dude.
Okay, all right. So she's taking the Robert Downey Jr. approach. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna go over that way.
Probably not. That seems a little too risky.
Yeah, it really does.
Last week or last episode, one of the previous episodes you guys heard, the Penguin, we talked about a reviewer or a commenter who had I guess questions or comments about our Agatha review.
Oh no, have they returned?
No, they have not returned.
Okay.
But then I realized that there's a lot of people who I forgot to whose comments I forgot to mention.
Oh,
so
yeah, he didn't tell me about him either. So
I mean, it was
the lesser comments, as my co-host has apparently deemed it.
Those are not my words.
I knew nothing about it though, so I think your comments are just as valid as the people's that we read already.
I'm not sure where this is coming from. All of your comments are very valid.
Okay.
Hence, we're going to go through some of these now, and so we're going to time travel and talk about some of these comments here now.
Hey, it's fine with me. He's got to work earlier than I do.
That's true. That is very true. All right, so let's go back to see what's this
reality.
Here. Yeah, back to reality. So there's a comment here for way back from Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
So our bad. We owe you some interest.
Some of y'all, definitely need get some interest on this. Let's see. Well, there's one that says, I'm not gonna lie. Watched it last night. The shit was a hit. The only question I really had was if she, I'm assuming they mean Cassandra Nova, can rip people's skin off with their bones in an instant. Why didn't she instantly decimate Deadpool and Wolverine when she went into the subway to the Time Ripper? She brought the Deadpool core, but she didn't need them. That's like Vecna needing an army of goblins to kill a party of two. Also, why didn't she kill them immediately when she got up like she said she would? There was no reason to leave them alive from her perspective. But maybe that's just me.
So, Is that it? Is that the whole thing? So 2 things here. Number 1, I love your metaphor there. Actually, it was a simile. If we're getting technical, but I love technically correct is the best kind of correct. I love your example that you used Vecna. So you get points for that. However, 2 things. Number 1, ripping either of their skin off won't kill them.
It's true.
And she knows this. Also, she did, in the event that that's not the sole reason, to me, that'd be the primary reason. Mm-hmm. But the secondary one would be more that they technically saved her earlier in the movie, and she did say she wasn't going to kill them.
Yeah. And, she's a psycho, but she's a psycho with, I guess, some sort of moral compass of sort. I don't know.
Yeah.
She very well could have killed Deadpool and Wolverine if she so wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, she could have smushed them up into a little ball and put it in a box.
I mean, but ultimately, I don't know why she didn't, but at that point in the movie, there was some sort of mutual understanding, at least on her part. Like, like they told her the truth about, someone that was plotting against her, and then I guess she kind of figured that, she'll repay the favor. So, moving on here. Oh, this is another one for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Nobody said anything about the dick and nips. That was the night the concept really became a thing.
That was when Dick and Nips were born. You're right. This homie says, I had a lot of fun with this movie. Some story struggles and plot issues for sure, but the chemistry between Ryan and Hugh Sword and the characters of Deadpool and Wolverine as this odd couple through this multiversal adventure was what made the movie work. I don't think it saved the MCU, but it put a nice button on the end of the Fox Marvel franchise while being hilarious and 100% authentically Deadpool. Great review. Thank you for that.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I think I agree with that entire assessment there. Like the plot on that is not airtight, and I think we even talked about that during the review. The chemistry between Deadpool and Wolverine is really what makes that movie, that and the action set pieces, and I mean, it's just a fucking fun movie. It was never going to be a movie that was going to save the MCU, but it certainly puts them in a good position.
Right, it put some dollars in the bank.
Oh, for sure.
It got She-Hulk replaced by Deadpool in the Disney Plus banner.
Okay, yeah, we'll go by that one. Let's see. Let's look.
What else we got over here?
This comment is from the Umbrella Academy Season 4 review.
Oh, no.
It is just a simple question, short, sweet, and to the point. Why the giant squid? Caleb, why did we get the giant squid in Umbrella Academy Season 4?
So if you watched that review, you know that my brain has attempted to purge every millisecond of that season of television from my databanks, and at this point in time, it has nearly succeeded because it took me a second to be like, I was like, what giant squid? Yeah, there is a giant squid. It is completely inexplicable, and it makes no sense, and they never explain it.
No, I don't have anything for you, homie. I'm sorry. I was kind of checked out, too, on that review. I can't explain anything in that season.
So what I need you to do is drive to the nearest Native American reservation and get you some peyote, right? And go out into the desert, preferably at night, like not too far. You don't really want to get attacked by coyotes. Maybe bring somebody with you. You know what I'm saying? And just smoke a good bit of that, like as much as you can handle. And then just kind of stare off into the night sky for a while. And maybe, just maybe, the answer will come to you.
Because it didn't come to the people who wrote it.
No.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know anything about their reasoning for that last season of television.
Yeah, we're flipping this question on you. You follow up and let us know.
Okay, here we go. This is for The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, legit?
Yeah. This homie says, the reason why graphic novels exist Comic retailers at the time had to back order the miniseries because it sold out and went into multiple prints. I think as high as a 4th print. So groundbreaking and inspired Tim to get involved in the filmmaking process. A masterpiece. I'm not sure who, Tim Burton?
Yeah, Tim Burton, I would imagine.
Yeah, wow.
If Tim Burton read The Dark Knight Returns, he certainly wasn't making his movies about that or in that same vein, really.
Yeah. But I can see him still reading that and being like, well, that's a great story. I can never tell it, but it's a great story.
Yeah, he likes the tone and the setting, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, we've missed the mark on it now. But, I mean, a true Dark Knight Returns using Keaton's Batman would work. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, they have to get somebody else to play Commissioner Gordon because I'm sure that dude is dead.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy because was that the same Commissioner Gordon in the first 4?
Yeah. And I think they had the same Alfred too, right?
Yeah.
In all 4 of those?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was that Commissioner Gordon was terrible.
He was awful, right? Alfred was good.
That Commissioner Gordon could have been a Muppet. Like they could have just had a Muppet play that role and it would have been the same.
You know what makes that even worse is that like live action Commissioner Gordon almost had the same track record as live action Alfred, where like there's never really been a bad one, except he was bad.
Yeah, he was awful. Yeah. Yeah, Alfred in those was actually quite good. It wasn't until Michael Caine came along that we were like,
yeah.
We were like, this Alfred's great. I mean, then like Michael Caine just showed up and like obliterated the role. I mean,
right. All right, let's see here. This is from the Homie Tournament Worst Superhero Movie.
Oh God.
This one is actually is pretty simple and straightforward here. The Homie says Venom 1 is a guilty pleasure in my opinion.
Well, so when you call it a guilty pleasure, that means that you admit that it's bad. You just enjoy it. So
there's nothing wrong with that.
No, one of the Homie commandments is like what you like.
Yep.
So I mean, by saying it's a guilty pleasure, by definition, you're agreeing with us that it's a pile of shit. It's just that you happen to enjoy playing in it, and that's fine.
Yeah, we all have that.
Yeah, we all have that. I mean, I can't think of any for myself off the top of my head, but I'm sure I got one.
You know.
No, that's a good movie. I don't
see.
It's Batman Forever for me, actually.
So both of them.
Yeah. Both of them.
Okay, this next one is from the Redemption arc episode.
Ooh.
This on me here. Okay, this must be in response to when we were talking about Vegeta.
Yeah.
They say Vegeta's redemption arc is almost as impressive as. See if you know this character. Vegeta's redemption arc is almost as impressive as Seto Kaiba's finally believing in magic after being put through 5 seasons of magical hijinks arc. Do you know who that is, or what that is in reference to?
I feel like I should know, but
we need the homie Dylan.
Yeah, we're gonna have to consult with our anime specialist and get back to you.
Yeah, but I'm sure that's a phenomenal example that you presented.
Yeah, see, we have an anime department here at the Superhero Homies, and it is run by executive director Homie Dylan.
Yes,
and so 5 to 7 business days and we can submit this over there for review.
Yeah, we're gonna try to surpass the Homie Committee. It's gonna get real tied up if we go through them. So
it's okay, man. I got my finger on the button with them. They tried some shit with me tonight, and so I have a clause in my contract that if I ever leave or get fired, I get to name my replacement. See, and I've told them that I'm going to name Brendan if anything ever happens.
How did you get them to agree to sign that?
Well, they were Kevin was moving. They were desperate. They were in a hurry. They didn't read all the fine print.
That's crazy.
I had Saul Goodman as my lawyer.
Let's see. All right, this was in response to this was a solo episode I did a couple of months back about comic book storytelling, and I talked about John Cena as Peacemaker, and they responded, "By far, Peacemaker is one of the best shows that DC has put out in a long while." Yeah,
you're not wrong.
I mean, that's just an objective truth, It's great. Peacemaker season 2, I think it is currently filming, almost wrapping, something like that.
Yeah, and I actually watched the thing with James Gunn the other day, and he actually said like all of Peacemaker season 1 is canon except for the Justice League part.
Which, at first, I that made me scratch my head, but that does make sense because the Justice League is going to be way different now. And
it sounds like they won't even have one in phase 1.
Yeah, I guess you're right. So you're thinking that we get the formation of the Justice League and the DCU, or do we think we get like a pre-established Justice League?
No, I think that they'll form it, but I don't think it'll be phase 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that.
Hell, honestly, if it were up to me, I would do a World's Finest for the end of season 1.
Ooh,
or phase 1.
Yeah. All right, so like a Batman Superman team up.
Yeah, but you can't call it that because
you can't call it. Yeah. World's Finest is actually what I thought they were going to call Batman versus Superman, but obviously they went with Batman versus Superman. Who do you do as the villain for that then?
Yeah, that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Probably 2 villains. Mm-hmm. You know? Like, you would want someone that would be able to contend with Batman's mind and somebody who'd be able to fight Superman.
Yeah. I think Metallo could be fun. Like middle guy's got like the kryptonite heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could also be interesting.
I like Metallo as an option.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so who cooks up Metallo, though? Or they always could just do straight up Brainiac. Brainiac would be a good villain for both of them, but
they could. I feel like that's like a Justice League threat.
I was just thinking that too.
Yeah.
You want to keep that in the pipe,
right? Yeah. Depending on how you want to play it, you could use like a combination of like Solomon Grundy and then throw in somebody else. However you do it, I feel like it needs to give reason for Bruce Wayne to go to Metropolis.
Right.
And that's how they kind of, Bruce Wayne could be Mr. Steal Your Girl and take Lois out.
Oh, God. That'd be hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I could totally see something where, there's a... It depends on like what they do for Batman and Robin, right? Mm-hmm. If they use Ra's al Ghul.
Oh.
Because I could totally see a world where Ra's al Ghul pays a bunch of like scientists to build a fucking Metallo, right? Mm-hmm. A fucking Superman killing robot. And maybe Bruce is tracking that down. Like he's trying to figure out like, where these shipments are going and like what they're, what Ra's is up to. And then he ends up finding out like, oh, they're building a Superman killer.
Yeah. That could be cool.
So,
or hell, it could be a Mazo.
Yeah, I feel like that's Justice League too, though.
Yeah.
They already, gimped him in Arrow.
He was in Arrow?
Yeah,
Holy
it was a really. So they did. In their version, Amazo was the guy who built him. Also, it was like Dr. Amazo.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he like built I mean like Barry and Oliver like took him out.
Okay, in their defense, it's in Under the Red Hood, right? Nightwing and Batman take out an Amazo, but they did say it was like it wasn't fully functional.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, I think we'll just do one more here.
This is the Superhero Homies mailbag.
That's right.
Keep these comments coming, though. We could do a whole mailbag episode if we get enough of these.
Absolutely, yeah. Keep them coming, guys. Comment on the YouTube channel or on any of these social media outlets or at the email superherohomies@gmail.com. And I promise we will get to them when I see them.
Yeah.
This is in response to the Venom 3 movie. There was a section in that review when we were talking about the Rex Strickland character.
Yep.
And I said he was an amalgamation of 2 characters, and I couldn't remember the name of the other character. Well, this homie here is clearly a comic book reader, and he put me on game. He says the character that you were talking about is Orwell Taylor. He was a general that was part of the military division known as the Jury, and they hunt down symbiotes, and they borrow a lot of elements of the character and put it in this character, Rex Strickland. So yeah, that is his name, Orwell Taylor. As soon as I read it, I was like, okay, I recognize that.
This doesn't happen often, so thank you very much for this.
Much appreciated, for sure.
It's rare that somebody shows him up when it comes to the comic book knowledge.
I can't keep everything on the tip of the brain at one time. There are some other ones in here, but those were the ones I thought were the most interesting. Not that all your comments aren't interesting.
Here we go again. We're right full circle.
Those were the ones that were, I thought, conversation worthy. You understand. All right. Well, I think that we have meandered enough. And I think we should get into this thing. So with that being said, homies one and all, welcome back to another very special episode of the Superhero Homies podcast. My name is Quentin, and as always, I am here with the world's greatest co-host, the homie Caleb.
What's going on, everybody? Guys, gals, and non-binary pals, welcome back. This is a very special episode tonight. We actually kind of cooked this one up just recently. Tonight we're going to be talking about the best and worst and the meh of Resurrections. The good, the bad, and the ugly, if you will, of Resurrections across all different forms of media. The resurrection trope is, it dates back to the Bible. So
Jesus comes back to like,
I will go ahead and warn you here. I don't have anything on my list that's like really fresh, like last couple of months. Do you?
No.
Yeah. So last couple of months, anything new? So like, we're not going to spoil anything from like Penguin or Vox Machina or Agatha or anything like that if you haven't seen any of that. But I will warn you, anything older than, probably this year, there may be some spoilers here because just the nature of talking about Resurrections, it's going to be a kind of spoilery episode.
Right.
So
yeah, this is across all fictional media.
Yep, everything. Movies, comics, video games, novels. I don't think I got any video games on my list, but
I don't think I do either.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, with this list, it was a whole lot easier for me to come up with ones that I was like, I want to rip into this.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I only have one like this is awful on my list. Well, I have two.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have someone here that I think for you will teeter between meh and awful.
Yeah.
And I have a few on here that I think are actually pretty good representations. Would you like to start?
Yeah, I'll start. I've got a pretty basic example I can run with for my first one. Let me summon my notes here because that's what we do. Yeah, I'll start with a good example, and I'm going to go with Gandalf.
Yeah.
This is, if we don't want to go all the way back to the Bible, this is probably as good of a trope as you're going to get. Tolkien, when it comes to modern fantasy, right? 100 years from now, who knows if it's going to be, if people are going to consider Martin to be the guy, or if it's going to be Sanderson, or there will be two warring religions in the fantasy realm. I'm just hoping they won't still be writing grimdark, but we'll see. But the father of modern fantasy, as we're all concerned at this point in time, is Tolkien, right? The man went into a level of world building that had never been seen. And, despite The Hobbit having to be retconned to make it happen, Lord of the Rings is such an incredible concept, right? And just a staple of media. It could be argued that it's one of the greatest movie trilogies of all time, and they did some considerable cutting, some of those, that I agree with and some that I don't, but, at the end of the first movie or the first book, however you want to slice it, Gandalf dies, and we talked about this before, you kind of have that there's that mentor trope, right? Like you're the guy who's, you're like 5 levels higher than everybody else in the party.
Yep.
You showed up to the first session 0 with, your +3 long sword and your epic robe and your legendary staff. You've already been on some adventures. So that's Gandalf, right? He's the guy who's got the answers. He knows more about the ancient nature of this world and everybody that, all the things they could run into. Mm-hmm. But, other than Legolas, right? Like everybody else is like a baby compared to them.
Yeah. Aragorn just looks good for his age.
Yeah, but I mean, even he's only 87.
Yeah, 87. Yeah, just a spry 87-year-old.
Yeah, yeah, he's very spry for 87. But I mean, Gandalf is like way older than that. So, at the end of the first book, he's got that mentor role, and so he dies. And as far as we know, he's gone. Yeah. We see the characters process the trauma here. And I think for Gandalf, especially with the movies, right, it was very smart of them to open Two Towers with that scene and him fighting the Balrog. Because I think if he just appeared later on in the movie, I don't think it would have had as much impact.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm Gandalf the White.
Right. Man, I never really read the complete Lord of the Rings trilogy, so the movies were my first foray into Tolkien's work.
It is hard to read. I mean, it's hard for me to read.
I remember trying to read them in high school, and then I really didn't have the mental capacity or the patience to read a Lord of the Rings book.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, if I have to read one more time about them eating some kind of fucking living bread, or I'm gonna throw this book. But no.
I mean, the Old English style is just tough too.
Yeah. But so I remember watching the movies, and honestly, it wasn't until Return of the King was like in theaters that a buddy, actually Michael Powell, I think you know him. Yeah. He and I we were pretty cool in high school, and he convinced me to watch the first two. He had them on DVD, so he lent them to me, and so I watched them, and I was like, oh, it's actually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But seeing Gandalf bite it at the end, I was like, well, shit. There goes Magneto, was my thought. But then, seeing him come back was really epic, and again, I do think it was the right call, like you said, to kind of introduce that facet in the beginning of the movie. If for no other reason, I don't remember, maybe you do, did they spoil that in the trailers or promotional material?
No, I don't believe so. I don't believe they showed him at all. Yeah. And now, I mean, obviously, this is a 100-year-old book, so
right.
Not 100, but close enough. And it's one of the best-selling books in the world. Yeah. I mean, I think it has sold like in the billions with a B.
Jeez.
Yeah, like it's up there. I think it's actually one of the top English works globally. So
damn.
Yeah.
I feel like we could top it if we put our minds to it.
Yeah, I mean, Dick and Nips, a homie saga.
Little do we know, 200 years later, still the best-selling book of all time.
Yeah, of all time. Of all.
A memoir from the superhero homies. Yeah.
But I thought the way that they handled this was really, honestly incredible. Like, the way it's presented in the films. And Gandalf, when he shows back up, he also is not this. He is the mechanism by which they can get around Saruman's bullshit. Mm-hmm. But he is not like this, game breaking, sort of element to the story where he's just OP and destroys everything, right?
Now, he is immensely powerful.
Of course, yeah.
But, and I also love how he shows up and just scares the shit out of people. You know?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to yell at them with the bright light and all that. You could just be like, hey, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple choices and that aren't related to the resurrection. Like, that scene in the movie that has gotten a lot of attention lately where it's in the extended cut of Return of the King, and there's a portion where the Gandalf has just so it's the scene where they're trying to return from where they retake Osgiliath, and it like goes terribly and like everybody gets killed.
Yeah.
So that scene where they're returning, the ring wraiths are like chasing them, and like Gandalf comes out with his staff and he like chases the ring wraiths off.
Yeah.
Well, right after that, in the extended cut, the Witch King lands on like the battlements of the tower, and he like destroys Gandalf's staff. And there is no way that he could do that, like just from a power level. But it works in the movie.
Yeah.
Like the movie doesn't have all the context of like, this staff was created by the elves, blah, blah, blah. And Gandalf is, a direct servant of like the Maiar, blah, 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 and the Witch King is just some dude, I mean, obviously he is enhanced with, Sauron, by Sauron, having turned into a wraith, but like for the most part, he's just a motherfucker that succumbed to a ring.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think the resurrection aspect of it, I thought that they did it in a way where his death was still impactful, and him returning didn't undo that because the consequences of him dying still exist.
Yeah.
Like, he dies at the end of Moria, of that section of the story, and then the way that the characters play out, like the way the story plays out for the next several, I guess, arcs after that, it's kind of because of him dying.
And you have to think about how much different things would be if he had survived that encounter. Like if he had escaped with the rest of them,
Yeah, they probably never even would have split up, to be honest.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it would have gone wildly differently.
Incredibly differently. And, I mean, this is just the nature of storytelling, but you have to wonder, like, would it have been for the better or for the worse,
I think for the worst. I think from the moment that we meet our characters, most of our characters in the Fellowship, they are under the protection of this ancient, super powerful, basically angel.
Yeah.
And so removing that and seeing them go through the things that they go through without that level of protection, I think is a huge part of all of those characters, really.
Yeah. Agreed. Gandalf, great choice. Very powerful resurrection. That's just a great choice.
All right. I figured we'd start off with a softball.
So. Yeah. All right. I'm going to immediately throw a monkey wrench in the episode here.
Oh dear.
Yeah. So this one right here, this is definitely what I consider to be meh, leaning on bad. And it's to the point where I was going to choose a character. I said, fuck it, I'm going with all of them. And the selection here is literally anyone in Dragon Ball.
It's funny because I thought you were going to say something else. I have one on my list that's literally anyone, but it's a different franchise.
Okay. I love Dragon Ball Z. I love Super. I mean, I love the franchise. And it has brought me, at this point, decades of joy. I love it. However, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that there are some things that I, at times, don't like. One is the introduction of power level and then fucking off with it. And,
yep.
And two is the fact that, dare I say, even more so than comic books, death means nothing.
Yeah.
In the world of Dragon Ball. Because all you have to do is gather together these 7 mystical orbs summon a dragon, they can bring your loved one back. And if for whatever reason those Dragon Balls can't do it, you can go somewhere else that has Dragon Balls that can do it.
Especially the universe ones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
If you got those, you can do anything.
And, it's to the point where kind of like how high can power levels get before they become redundant. Like how high do stakes have to get before you really worry for any of the characters in the series when you have this huge MacGuffin just laying in the background in 7 different pieces. You get these things together and you can bring back anyone. So the first time that I watched Dragon Ball Z was obviously when they came to Toonami back in the day. And, we started off with the Saiyan saga. And it's amazing that the show took off as good as it did because we didn't get Dragon Ball first here. We got Dragon Ball Z first.
Right.
And we started off with the Saiyan saga. And almost immediately, our main protagonist dies.
Yeah.
And he goes to Home for Infinite Losers, as it was called in the American version. And he's that felt different at first, because he has a ticket to get home, but he's got a race to get back before his companions die. And then, especially as a kid, seeing the Saiyan saga for the first time really felt special because you see guys like Tien and Yamcha and Chaozu and Piccolo, you see them all bited. And,
right.
and then, Goku shows up before the chaos or death continues. And, it felt like it meant something then. We go on to the Saiyan saga, to the Namek saga. And again, we see a bunch of these Namekians just getting obliterated by Vegeta or by the Frieza Force. And, we even see eventually Vegeta get his ass handed to him by Frieza in a completely non-necessary way. Frieza just could have killed the man. But by this point, Piccolo is back to life, and that felt really cool. And then at that point, I think it kind of resonated with me that death in Dragon Ball, it's not like oh my goodness, they wrote this character off. It's like they're benching this character until they need them again.
Right.
And so I kind of just maintained that whole mentality about death and resurrection in the Dragon Ball saga. And the thing of it is, man, it's like a lot of these deaths can be impactful, but you do take the sting out of it with these constant resurrections. Nobody stays dead in Dragon Ball except for sometimes Goku when he wants to really be a deadbeat dad. And so
he did stay dead for what, like 6 or 7 years or something?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Knowing that he had 2 kids at that point, So it's like, okay, Goku. But yeah, man, what? How do you feel about the usage of resurrection in Dragon Ball Z?
So it's actually interesting because one of the good I have on my list is actually Frieza.
Wow, okay.
Specifically the way that he was handled in Resurrection F. Mm-hmm. Spoilers for that movie. Frieza comes back to life.
If you can tell by the name.
Just because I think that it plays well in the movie. Mm-hmm. Like, Frieza is obviously a villain that I would say when they brought him back the first time, it was unnecessary, but I see why they did it, right? Mm-hmm. So, when Goku fought him on Namek, honestly, the way everybody would want that to go is that Goku beats him and that's it, mm-hmm. right? But it doesn't quite go that way. And when he shows back up, they really wanted to demonstrate how powerful Trunks was. Yep. Because it's like, okay, we just spent this whole arc talking about the legendary Super Saiyan, and Vegeta's out here going crazy trying to like hit himself with a meteor storm and shit.
Yeah.
So he can become a Super Saiyan. And then all of a sudden, this dude just pops out of nowhere, and bam, he's a Super Saiyan, and he just obliterates Frieza, who we just spent, 20-something episodes fighting.
Right.
So it was important for them to show that, and I get it. And then we got a nice, very long break before we got Resurrection F.
Yeah.
And I thought the way that they handled that was quite cool for Dragon Ball, who typically is just like, you got to think, it used to be a season to go collect these Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
Now it'll be like in the middle of like one of the movies, they'll be like, yeah, we went and grabbed the Dragon Balls just in case. We just went and got them real quick.
Yeah.
Half the characters can teleport.
Right.
Goku, technically, with the radar, can just instant transmission around and get them all.
Yeah. So. And also, the Dragon Balls used to grant one wish, And at this point, like, I really wish that one of the wishes you couldn't do was resurrection. I think they would have really heightened the stakes,
Yeah.
I do agree, though. Frieza's resurrection was it was a cool thing for them to do in terms of, like, what Frieza did in that part of the Dragon Ball saga. The more I think about it, though, I think about how them not using resurrection has been a powerful tool for storytelling, because Future Trunks is just a great example of that,
Yeah.
But maybe it's also because I like grim dark stories.
Yeah.
And they don't get much darker than Future Trunks is.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the worst, I think, example of it with the Dragon Ball franchise is, have you seen the new movie? Have you seen Superhero?
I still have not seen that. You can spoil it, though.
Okay, well, they bring Cell back in that movie, and it's
really
fucking garbage. Like, Bio Broly is a better Broly movie than That's the Cell movie. It's terrible, dog.
Holy shit.
Yeah, they have Cell Max, and literally it just plays out like a Temu version of when Gohan fought him the first time.
Wow.
It's terrible, dude. And, like, I don't want to speak ill of the dead. Rest in peace, Akira Toriyama. But Akira Toriyama was like, this is the essential Dragon Ball film, and, like, talked it up like it was just this incredible work of art that they had, put together. But it's literally a 90-minute, like, bottom of the barrel at the, bargain bin of the gas station version of the Cell Saga. Without any of the nuance or any of that.
That's awful. That is, yeah.
Piccolo powers up and gets a new form.
I think I've seen pictures.
He's like Orange Piccolo or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was cool. That was a cool part of the movie. And then Gohan just gets a new form because he needed it. He just has it. He has yet another form. And literally they have it go about the same way. And he's fighting, Cell Max.
Cell Max just sounds like I have all 5 bars on my cell phone.
It's terrible. It's absolutely dreadful, yeah.
That sounds awful. Damn. Yeah. I keep telling myself I'm going to watch it, and it might be pushed back a little bit more.
Yeah, you'd be wasting your time.
All right, man. What you got next?
My up next. I'm going to actually go with one that may be on your list.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Craven.
Oh.
So, as I'm sure you know, at the end of Craven's last hunt, he bites it. And it's this epic, dramatic moment.
One of my favorite Spider-Man comics.
And, for a while after that, he almost got the, the Jason Todd or Bucky or Uncle Ben treatment, where it's like, you can't touch this character. Mm-hmm. So Marvel, the House of Ideas, just kind of danced around it and like brought his relatives in. And then in just a random issue of Spider-Man, he just shows back up. And I'm like, at least with, we're just talking about Dragon Ball, at least with them, they'll be like, that'll be like the arc, where it's like, oh, we're going to go get the Dragon Balls and bring back Frieza. This would be like if like Frieza just showed up inexplicably in an episode.
Yeah.
No
explanation. Yeah, man. As you can probably imagine, a lot of the readers were a little upset about this. Because like Kraven's Last Hunt is, it's excellent.
It's the iconic Kraven story.
It absolutely is. And I get it. This is comic books, right? And comic books never end. And so You want to bring him back one day? That's fine. That's cool. But you got to make it mean something. You know,
right.
It has to mean something. And so like you really have to think about what you're doing with things like this. Like you just can't bring back Craven because you know what would be really cool if Craven was still alive.
Right.
You have to think about proper ways to do so. And I think about it like this. The way that you want to bring someone back, is it even half as impactful as the way they died?
Right.
And if it's not, then you might want to put that on the shelf until you can think of a really impactful way to bring them back.
Yeah, is it going to fulfill a purpose?
Right.
Like, you know, if that character had a full arc, then you have to have a good reason to want to bring them back. Mm-hmm. There has to be something for them to do.
Yeah.
Either for themselves as a character or for the characters around them.
Yep. They do a version loosely of Kraven's Last Hunt in the most recent Spider-Man game. Obviously, like it's kind of cut short and compiled due to the Venom stuff in that game.
Right.
But what they do with Kraven in that, and like no spoilers, it is very final. Like you won't be seeing that motherfucker in the third one.
You hope.
Yeah, I hope. I said that way too definitively. But yeah, man, like, and that's the thing. Like, there's so many instances of that in comic books where, like, the writers or the companies who are at the head of, or the people who are at the head of these companies are just like, yeah, let's bring back so and so, and we'll fill in the blanks later. And sometimes the later never comes.
Right.
Yeah. So Kraven was, that was awful.
Yeah, I figured that one would be on your list.
Yeah, it probably should have been, but like I was like, you know what, I
just can't.
I can't.
What you got, brother?
All right. We'll go ahead and do this one too. I'm gonna say get it out of the way. This is actually a really good one, but it's obvious.
Okay.
Jason Todd.
I didn't put him on my list because I knew 100% he would be on yours.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to comic book character resurrections, they don't get much better than this. I mean, right off the top of my head, the only one who I can think of who was close would be Bucky.
Yeah. They are the gold standard.
They are.
For sure. But I think that this one, for me, I think that even better than, I hate to say it, even better than Winter Soldier, Under the Red Hood is just such a tremendous, story.
Yeah.
Because what it means for Batman, what it means for Jason, what it means for Nightwing, what it means for the Joker, what it means for Ra's. I mean, all of the drama that gets, intertwined between all of them because of Jason's death.
Yeah.
And just the way that it all plays out. And, the idea of Under the Red Hood, that the Red Hood himself is the villain of the story. But like with most great villains, you can understand where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, it'll be like, well, my loved ones were killed or whatever, so I'm going to go out and kill people.
Right.
But this is like, no, it happened to him.
Yeah.
This motherfucker beat him to death with a crowbar. He was there for most of that.
Yeah.
So, it's hard not to empathize with him. Mm-hmm.
And he really sums it up so perfectly, right? During like some of the final moments of that story, where Jason says to Bruce, "I don't blame you for letting me die, but why is he, the Joker, still alive?"
Yeah,
and that's really what it's all about. Like, above all else, Jason, he's kind of heartbroken that like his father figure didn't avenge him when this embodiment of evil took him from him.
Right.
And so Jason just can't fathom the idea that the Joker is still alive after what he did to me. Like, you allow him to still live. And so he took that, and obviously with the mental side effects of the Lazarus pit, especially on someone who was actually dead, like not on the brink of death like Roz usually is, but someone who's dead,
right,
just really fucked with his mental state. And so you compile all that together, you have someone who's extremely angry, someone who's saddened, someone who's not really in the right state of mind. And yeah, I'm going to show Batman how this is done. I'm going to show Batman what he should have done, and that's what he does. He goes out and he murders a bunch of thugs and goons and try to set things right his way. But along the way, he wants to teach Bruce a lesson. And, it's just one of the most powerful stories in Batman comics. And Jason's resurrection was just, and everyone agrees, like, he's so much better now than he was than before he died.
Right, yeah. Yeah, they killed him off because he wasn't a great Robin.
You're right.
Him as a follow-up to Dick Grayson was, laughable.
It was, right? And granted, that's like, it's what they would call like the death spot on a wrestling card. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if Rock and Hogan just wrestled at WrestleMania 18, you don't want to have to follow that.
Right? No, it didn't go well.
That's kind of how it was when you have someone follow the footsteps of Dick Grayson. He was just like, Dick Grayson at that point already was super popular, and he had moved on to the Titans by that point and became Nightwing, and he was just the guy. But people loved Dick Grayson, but people also still thought that there should be a Robin. And so I think they got Jerry Conway, the same guy who wrote the Death of Gwen Stacy arc. He created Jason Todd. And he didn't stay on for the whole run, obviously, but Jason, they wanted to make him different from Dick Grayson, which, it's understandable. But so instead of having him be like this kind of funny, quippy, jovial asset to Batman, Jason was aggressive. He was kind of big-headed. He was a bit angry. He didn't listen as well. And fans, granted, some of it was unfair, but fans just didn't take to Jason.
A Carol Danvers, if you will.
A little bit, yeah. Except DC did something that no comic book company would ever do today. They said, we'll leave it to the fans. We'll let them vote. And if they vote this motherfucker dies, then they die. Which I can promise you, Marvel or DC would never do that today. They were way too afraid of the consequences.
I was going to say, could you ever see, could you imagine if the MCU was like, do you want to see Carol Danvers die in the next movie? I think the results would be like 80-something%.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it would be tremendous. I don't want to see that because that would actually make me feel bad for Brie Larson.
And you don't want to feel that emotion.
I don't want to feel that emotion. No. Yeah, I like feeling the way I feel right now. That reminds me. So you've seen like the new pictures of like the latest Marvel banner,
yeah,
and how they replaced She-Hulk
with
Deadpool. But I'm like, Captain Marvel's still up there though. Like,
yeah, can we replace her with Wolverine while we're in here?
Or just another Deadpool?
Yeah, just multiple Deadpools. Yeah,
Headpool. Yeah, Junior. You got options.
Yeah. Let's put Junior up there. Sell some merch, damn it. She ain't selling any. Sell these things.
Fuck, you can place with Kamala Khan. Huh?
Fuck yeah. I figured she was already on the banner, but you know what? Yeah, just replace her. What are you guys doing?
All right, come on. All right. It's my go.
It's my go. Yeah. Well, you knew this one was coming. We actually didn't talk about this the other day when we did our Mistborn review, but we're going to talk about it now. My next one is Kelsier from Mistborn.
I did not put Kelsier on my list because I knew that you were going to put him on yours.
Absolutely, yes. We didn't talk really in our Mistborn review about the resurrection very heavily. I think by the time we got to Secret History, we've been doing this shit for like 3 hours. And we were like, let's get through. Because there's enough in Secret History to unpack, damn near for a whole episode. So, let me ask you, what did you think of the way that he was brought back here?
I thought it was incredibly sensible. And even though Secret History is not a big read, it didn't feel rushed because the book is very well paced out.
Right.
And also because it's unfolding in the background of the other books, it really makes it feel more fleshed out and more evenly paced. And by the time like he actually comes, or by the time we get to the end of Secret History, right, it feels right.
Yeah.
And it feels like there's still so much more to do with this character. I don't think that it felt cheapened at all.
Yeah.
Like I thought that was for one thing, like his death is still incredibly impactful.
Right. Yeah.
Like it doesn't change any of that. And secondly, like his death was really the catalyst for so much. Like how many times in Well or Hero of Ages do we see Ven reflect on Kelsier, or do we see Ellen try to compare himself to Kelsier or something along those lines? And it's like if Kelsier's still alive, a lot of this looks differently and a lot of this goes differently. But because he's dead for all that, it really just it enhances the stakes. It lets you know that death is a real thing, and it just adds a weight and gravity to the story. And when we see him again in Secret History, it's like I said in the Mistborn review, it feels like visiting an old friend again who you haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And you almost forget how much you enjoy this character.
Right.
And then like he gets to do all like the classic Kelsier shenanigans. And it's just tremendous. And so by the time you get to the end of Secret History, man, you're stoked to see what could come next for this character now.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there, right? First of all, yeah, I mean, if Kelsier's alive during Well of Ascension, right? Mm-hmm. Things go so differently. He's like, there's an army of nobles outside? Mm-hmm. Fuck yeah. Let's go kill him.
Yeah.
When Zane rolls up, he gets rocked. Like, end of story. Like...
Wait, who?
Zane.
Okay.
Zane gets rocked. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because...
For sure. And I don't think Kelsey's going to entertain Zane...
No.
The way that Ven did.
No, he's not going to run around and be like, let's go on adventures and shit. No, he's done. Like...
Yeah. Like, I'm sure he asked some questions, but then after those questions are done, so is Zane.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're not. There's no way we're gonna let Straff Ventures' personal Mistborn bitch run around the city all willy nilly.
Right.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
He's like, I fought too many Inquisitors. Damn it.
The stuff with Marsh goes different.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Hell, he might kill Marsh.
Yeah, that's true. Or Marsh might kill him.
Yeah.
It depends.
That's true. It depends on when it happens.
When it happens, because like by that third book, man, Marsh is like,
dog.
Marsh is unbelievable.
It's got to be in Well.
It's got to be in Well. Yeah. He's got so much power by the end of by Hero. I mean, I think that one of the things also that works out so well for his resurrection is just so earned.
Mm-hmm. It's not easy.
Yeah, I've heard Kelsier described as, he couldn't be gone. He's too angry to die. And that's kind of what it is, right? Is this like he's staying alive through this like sheer force of will. Mm-hmm. And it also costs him, which I think is really important for a lot of these, is there's a significant cost to him for staying.
Yeah.
He is not really truly alive. Mm-hmm. He's kind of Agatha at this point. He's kind of he's just kind of a spirit that's here. And there will be other shenanigans that come up. I can't spoil them right now because he hasn't read much further than this. But yeah, there's other shenanigans that come up. But yeah, I mean, basically the entire novella is him trying to get back. Yeah. And like I said, it never feels cheap. It never, it never cheapens his original death at all. And I know Sanderson really struggled with whether he was going to bring him back or not. He's talked about that kind of at length because when you have an amazing death like that, you always run the risk of, undermining it or whatever. It's like, I mean, this is a great character. I want to do more with them, and people would like to read the character. Because everybody that reads that trilogy, man, when you go into that second book, I mean, there's just a giant hole there to be filled.
Yes.
And it does get filled. I mean, there are amazing characters that fill out that roster, but you always miss Kelsier being there. So, I mean, I think he made the right call, ultimately, to bring him back. Knowing what I know, it's going to be very interesting when we talk about this again. But for where you're at right now, I would say, like, it makes me incredibly hopeful. I remember when I first read this, I was like, incredibly hopeful for what Kelsier would go off and do, and like what we would see from him. And he does have a very large part to play. So
I'll say this and we can move on. But man, I am very excited to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson play Kelsier in a live action movie.
Please no.
So, hey, $7 production. Let's go ahead and get on this. Like, I think that
at the very worst, can we get Henry Cavill? I mean, he's too ripped, but he's also too ripped to be Geralt. So
now Henry Cavill. You're asking way too high quality right now. We're going with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
No. See, Henry Cavill is a big Cosmere nerd, so they'll get him on to play this, and then they'll fuck it up. Because Hollywood is out to ruin everything that Henry Cavill likes.
Right, everything that man enjoys, they want to fuck it up for him. God damn.
Yeah, for those of you who think this Warhammer show is about to be amazing, flip a coin.
All right. This next one here. We might have opposing views on this one. Yeah, but
not me and you.
had to be included here. Ellen Ripley in Alien Resurrection.
Oh yeah, I actually thought about putting this on my list.
Yeah, me too. Hence it being here.
Hence it being there. I didn't put it on my list, but I did think about it.
Yeah, dog. You and I are both big fans of the Alien franchise.
Yes.
Yeah. My goodness, like Alien 3 was not fun.
The worst of the worst. I think we do agree on that, right?
Yeah, I think we do. Yeah.
I mean, Alien 3 is like universally the worst Alien movie, like objectively.
It's pretty awful. Yeah, it's pretty fucking awful.
Like if we did a Cinema Sins episode about
that would be our longest episode.
Yeah, about that movie. I mean, it breaks every franchise. Like every franchise don't, it does, and every franchise do, it doesn't. Like, but like bringing Ripley back. And I know technically it's a genetically modified clone or whatever with xenomorph queen DNA, blah blah blah. Is a resurrection, all right? Yeah.
And I don't think that the juice was worth the squeeze at all for this. I think that it was just them trying to milk the franchise a little bit more at the time. And I don't know if anyone told Fox, but the franchise was dead by that point. Like Alien 3 had killed it, and Resurrection did not do what the name implied. It was still very much dead. It's still great to see Sigourney Weaver back, but damn, man, like she can only do so much with a script like that, and just turning into her. I think I mentioned this when we did our Romulus review. But like just turning her into like the Bruce Willis of the Alien franchise was not the move, where she starts off like a normal, understandable, relatable person, and then by the end of the franchise she's a fucking superhero. And it just it felt like a parody of the character that I knew from Alien and Aliens by that point.
Yeah, I mean, counterpoint to that. Mm-hmm. I don't think she's supposed to feel like the same character, right? Like I don't know that was their desire, right? I mean, I think the way that she plays it is actually, I don't know about brilliant, but I think it's nuanced. I think it makes sense, right? I think this idea that, she is not all human. Number one, that she's a clone, and there's no telling what kind of bullshit cloning technology these guys have. I mean, it obviously wasn't great. But this idea that she is part alien queen and part human. And not only that, but she has her, well, so she doesn't actually have her memories of anything after she landed. So she doesn't remember anything from the prison because they cloned her from her blood in the escape pod, right?
Yeah.
So she doesn't know that she intentionally killed herself to keep them from being able to have this alien queen.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to be here. She knows she's not supposed to be here. And she knows there's something drastically wrong with her, right? And that she's not wholly herself. So I think the way that the story is written, I think if she played the character like the Ellen Ripley we know, it wouldn't make any sense.
Now, that's the problem. The story doesn't make any sense.
Now, that's not fulfilling, right? I get it if you're there to see Ellen Ripley. I actually I actually really love this idea. Like, I don't think Resurrection is top tier. I think it's way better than 3. And I actually would rather see it than what's the second one? After
Covenant? Yeah,
Covenant. I'd rather watch it than Covenant any day. The David movie. David the movie. But yeah, I mean, I like this aspect of it. I like this idea that they tried to clone her so they could get the alien queen embryo out of her, and they never got it right. They thought they did, but they never quite got it. And that scene, man, where she finds the failed attempts, that's such an iconic scene in all of cinema, to the point that it's been parodied several times. I mean, maybe not parodied, more so copied. It's been imitated several times.
I would hesitate to use the term iconic, simply because, like, when I think iconic, I think, I think like, hell, the alien coming up on Ellen.
Oh yes,
and not attacking. That's an iconic scene. Or I think,
or her in the loader or whatever fighting the queen.
Yeah, and Aliens. Yeah. I guess ultimately, like, all of those are good ideas, but to me, they're just so poorly executed, and it's not really something that you can do off the heels of Alien 3. I mean, honestly, I think that the right call to do would be, I can't believe I'm saying this about people, but you give Sigourney a break and you don't put her in Alien Resurrection. Or if you do, and you do decide to go that route, you don't make her the main character. Because, as you said, it is not the same Ellen Ripley. I think that they should have actually had someone else be the main protagonist.
Probably Winona Ryder's character.
Yeah, Winona Ryder's character. Oh man, what was?
Did she turn out to be an android in that? I'm trying to remember what. There was something about her, right?
There was something off. I don't remember. I don't think she was an android. Was she?
I think she had some kind of powers or something, though.
It was probably.
I do think, too, I mean, it's got Rise of Skywalker syndrome to an extent, where it's like, you know what? There's also some good stuff in that movie. But the franchise is dead. Yet you killed it the same way that it was with Fox, where it's like, you guys drug this through the mud, and now you're upset that it's dirty.
Yeah.
It's the same thing where, J.J. Abrams tried to come in and cobble together 3 movies in 2 hours,
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, that movie is atrocious, but it has better ideas than Last Jedi. It's the only movie in the sequel trilogy that doesn't just shit all over the original characters for the sake of the movie.
Right.
And for that, I consider it the best one, even though on paper as a film it's fucking atrocious, right?
Right.
And yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar here, right? Where it's like, I like the base ideas of Resurrection, but you guys already shit on the franchise, and you didn't have a writing team that could save it. So yeah, I agree with you. I think if we'd have got Prometheus right then, you know, I mean, obviously the CGI wouldn't have been quite as good.
Yeah, no, and that's what I was gonna say too. Like, I wonder, like, if the order of operations had changed, maybe they had given us time more to miss Ripley, or maybe if they had also done a little bit more exploration on the xenomorphs or whatnot, that maybe that could have helped. But also, like, think about the time frame between when Resurrection came out versus when Prometheus came out.
Yeah.
Prometheus was like 2012.
Yeah, it was like over 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to cool it off. I mean, that Dark Phoenix, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I'll tell you, we will be we will be very, very old. Like, millennials will by that point be like the fucking old Gen Xers, you know.
I don't think we get a movie with X-Men in the title before you and I are like 45.
Ooh, yeah. That's painfully accurate. Yeah. Goddamn. On that note, I want to move on from that.
Yeah. Is it my turn or your turn? It's my turn.
It's your turn, yeah.
You just had a bad one. I'm going to list a bad one.
Okay.
Every single motherfucker in Fast and the Furious that comes back to life. For any reason.
Okay. Listen, if you don't like Michelle Rodriguez, you can just say that. All right.
She comes back to life. She dies in everything, actually. She comes back to life every now and then. Didn't they bring her back to life in Resident Evil 2?
I think they did.
Yeah, like
she comes back to life at the end of D&D.
Yeah, she's the female Sean Bean, right?
So he doesn't always come back.
He never comes back to life.
Yeah.
He dies in everything, but she does too. But she often comes back to life. But, you know, I went looking it up, and there's like 6 fucking characters in that franchise that they just have done brought back to life.
Wasn't it like the guy from Tokyo Drift, right?
Yeah, he dies,
Yep.
and they just bring him back. And the thing about that franchise is they never explain any of it. Like, the person just shows up.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, you're back.
Right. And then, you know, they're having coronas before too long.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. The Fast and Furious franchise, I am astounded, one, at like the budget of these movies. Like, these are expensive movies to make.
They make a lot of money overseas.
And that part, right?
Yeah.
I'm always surprised at how much money these movies make. Like, what is it about? So, like, when these do the Chinese think that this is what all American cinema is like?
I think so. I think that's honestly kind of what it is. Did you remember that movie? I can't remember the name of it, but it was a couple years ago where it was like the Russian Avengers.
Yeah.
And like that one guy turns into a bear and shit.
A bear wolf man. Yeah.
I feel like this is kind of that.
Yeah.
You know, like they think that American cinema is that.
Yeah.
And, you know, a lot of our movies don't get released globally anymore.
Right.
But especially like China, you know, since the pandemic, there's like a lot of releases don't go over there. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the last couple Fast and Furious movies, man, they make like something like 70-something% of their haul overseas.
Yeah.
And it's typically your like less developed countries. And I'm guessing it's just because of the effects budgets for these movies.
Yeah, the spectacle.
Yeah.
You know? And I get it, like, they look really cool. And hell, I've seen, like, okay, I think I got off board after like 5. And,
yeah.
And honestly, I think that's where the franchise probably peaked.
Yeah.
That it's like, okay, this shit is utterly ridiculous, but they did some cool shit. So
5 is the only one that I would even put in the I like it column.
Yeah, right.
All the rest of them range from like to fucking garbage.
And they just find new ways to top themselves with the bullshit.
Yeah, all I mean, you know, and they have their own rules. Like, you can fall from any distance, but if Vin Diesel drives his vehicle under you, you're safe.
You're safe.
You're not gonna break a leg. Nothing.
Yeah.
You won't chip a tooth.
Right.
Nothing. You won't need a Band-Aid.
Bro, like, these motherfuckers don't even race no more. They just save the world from whatever.
I think it was like 2 movies ago that they like drive the car into space.
Yeah, wasn't it the last one, the most recent one? Yeah.
No, because I haven't seen that one.
Oh, okay. So
yeah, I didn't waste that much time. Gotcha. It was the one before that.
Yeah, dog. I was like, what in the fuck are we doing here? Yeah. And then they had the nerve to put that in the trailer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, these movies are awful, but, you know, the tropes they rely on, I mean, the resurrection thing is just one of them. But, yeah, the way that they do it, I think, is bottom of the barrel, the worst way to do it. I think you look at it, and it's just like, oh, well, we killed off this character for 2 seconds. You know, none of them are real characters anyway.
Right.
They're all just caricatures. So, like, the plot beat needed this person to die, and now we want to bring them back for the pop. So they're back.
Now they're back. Yeah.
This is so contrived.
Extremely so. I'm sure it's not the same people, but like whoever writes those movies, man, like I hope they're getting paid well.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
I'm sure they are.
Absolutely.
This is like random and irrelevant to this, but did you know that Tom Cruise is the same age right now that Ian McKellen was when he played Gandalf the first time? And this motherfucker about to like run down a plane in the new Mission Impossible.
I did not know that. That is crazy.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
So Ian McKellen, he was like what, 57?
Let's see how old Tom Cruise is right now.
That's
wild.
Yeah,
Tom Cruise is 62, bro.
He's 62?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, Tom Cruise was born on July 3rd, 1962. And so he is 62.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Born in 62 and now he's 62. Jesus.
And Ian McKellen is 85. And it's let's see, Fellowship came out in 2001.
Was it 01 or 02? 01?
Yeah, Fellowship came out in 01 because it was 01, 02, 03. So, so that's 23 years ago. So yeah, 62.
Dog.
I just blow your mind right now.
Yeah, because you like, there's certain people who like for me have just always been old. You know,
and Ian McKellen's one of them.
He's one of them. Him and same thing, Patrick Stewart.
Patrick Stewart, Sean Connery, been old forever.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman, like they've always been old.
Yeah. Well, Morgan Freeman looked old in Shawshank, bro. Like, and that shit came out in the 90s.
In the 90s, that's crazy.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman got like the reverse bite don't crack. Like he just looked old forever ago. I'm sure photos of Morgan Freeman as a child exist, but in my mind, he's just a smaller human with that same face.
The same facial structure, yeah. And the same voice, too.
And the same voice, yeah. Yeah, there's no way this baby cried out the womb. He just came out
he monologued.
And be like, he was just like, well, that was eventful.
I finally made it into this mortal coil.
Yeah. Somebody get me a towel. It's cold as shit in here.
I think my mother should name me Morgan.
And the doctors are like, yeah, whatever. Get this baby the fuck out of here.
Get this talking baby the fuck out of here. Get this 47-year-old baby out of here.
Yeah, it's weird, right? That, you know, there's just like, it's just like certain people, there's just always been old.
Always, yeah. What was it? Steve Martin, I know he said that he would dye his hair white. So that when he actually got old, so like he always looked old, but then he dyed his hair, and then when he actually aged, like,
nobody thought anything of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now like Ted Danson looks just like him. It's hard for me to tell them apart.
Yeah, that's just crazy though. Tom Cruise, 62 years old, still doing Mission Impossibles.
Yeah. I think they just got one more though, right?
I think so.
For realsies this time, they promised. Yeah.
This mission might actually be impossible.
Yeah. I think it's your pick.
Yeah. All right. Next up, I would also be remiss if I didn't do this one, guys. So this is an example of one that was done extremely well in the pages, not so much in live action. Talking about Jean Grey, aka the Phoenix.
Ooh.
So,
and it doesn't matter which live action you're talking about. It's just bad and worse.
So, some of you guys might recoil at the fact that I'm making you relive the Phoenix Saga. But once upon a time, the Phoenix Saga was considered one of the greatest X-Men stories. Actually, still is considered one of the greatest X-Men stories ever penned. And I mean, for good reason. So, to give you guys the elevator pitch on what this is and why it's so impactful, the X-Men, they were doing some kind of mission out in space. And they had to go through like this cosmic storm with like this extreme radiation. Jean Grey was the only one who had the capability to withstand the radiation and protect the jet as they were to fly it back home. And doing so, she had an overexposure to like these cosmic radiation waves or whatever. And that seemed to awaken like a deep power within her. And that power became known as the Phoenix. And so, if you're reading this in like I guess it must have been like the early 80s, this has been written, then you're thinking that this is just like a new kind of persona or a new character for her to assume. A new alias, so to speak, better than Marvel Girl or just Jean Grey. She's not the Phoenix. But then as the story goes on, she's manipulated by the Hellfire Club. Things go awry as the X-Men are in space again. Jean Grey, at this point, as the Phoenix Force, she destroys like a solar system with some crazy shit, and like 6 billion people die. But they're not humans, or it's not on Earth, so it doesn't matter.
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah. But the Shi'ar Empire do not think it's fine, in fact. And they end up abducting the X-Men, as well as Jean Grey, and they want to put Jean on trial for the murder of 6 billion people. She might be able to get away from, like, a couple of those murders that she committed, but probably not the other 5 million. And Xavier comes up with the idea who's like, oh, fuck, they're going to kill my students. Or at least Jean. And so he's like, I demand trial by combat. And so that's what they do. So it's like the Imperial Guard of the Shi'ar Empire versus the X-Men. And all the X-Men, they get eliminated except for Scott and Jean. And they're literally fighting for Jean's life. Cyclops ends up getting hurt, and that awakens like the Dark Phoenix in Jean Grey. And so she goes off. I'm skipping a lot and just give you guys like the main details here, because there's a lot of ups and downs with Jean and her character here, and a lot of change that happens along the way, a lot of battles that they have with Jean, and trying to get her to retain her sanity, and to have Jean retain the power instead of this cosmic Phoenix Force. But she loses it when Scott gets hurt, and she's on the verge of just obliterating the Shi'ar Empire. And Scott begs and pleads with her in an attempt to talk her down. And when Jean is able to kind of regain some of her sanity, she realizes like what she's done, like the entirety of it all, And in one last noble attempt to stop all this, she takes her own life, essentially. To stop the Phoenix Force, to stop this dark entity within her, to stop the killings and the murders. And yeah, like that was it was a real cool and touching moment. So it was a wonderful death. And like when she comes back eventually, it is a big deal. Now, unfortunately, Claremont cannot write the X-Men forever. And so he does end up leaving the X-Men in like the early to mid 90s. And Jean Grey has died and come back several times since then. And now the Phoenix Force is, it's up there with like, that wasn't Dr. Doom, it was a Doombot. Or, that wasn't Nick Fury, that was a life model decoy. That wasn't Jean Grey, it was just the Phoenix. And so like things have become very, very tropey now. And if we're being honest, like the Phoenix Force is kind of similar to the Speed Force, right? Like, what do you need it to do?
Right.
And that's what it does.
Yeah.
But when Claremont was first writing this and developing it, it felt high stakes, it felt deep, it felt like these characters are really struggling with how to keep their friend, their ally, or their lover, in case of Scott, how to keep them, and then just the realization that you can't. And so, like, her death was very much impactful at that time, because it was kind of the first time that she had ever died. Now she probably has the record for the X-Men who died the most.
Yeah. Man, can you imagine if Marvel announced that like Claremont was going to do like a last X-Men run? Like the way that those issues will fly off the shelves.
Oh yeah. Yeah, man. That would be fantastic.
Like, go ahead and print like 500K of those.
Right. Oh yeah, that would be great, man. Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think like the last big run on X-Men he did was when like he had this new young upstart artist named Jim Lee who was drawing for him.
Yeah, that's some young kid.
Yeah. I think he went on to do some other stuff,
Yeah, here and there. It's crazy. Like, I know the people writing X-Men 97 would love that.
Yeah.
they just be like, okay, let's jot that down. Right.
Oh, that would be amazing for them.
We're just gonna make this.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I think this is obviously one that could fall into either category.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, obviously, the original way that it was done was tremendous. Mm-hmm. The way that it was done, even in the animated show, tremendous. But obviously, the way that it was handled in live action, the first time was very questionable.
Yeah.
It was damn near Fast and the Furious, where it's just like, they're just back. Yeah. And then she doesn't even actually die in the new one, right? Like, she doesn't actually die in Dark Phoenix.
We should go back and rewatch it to see.
I don't think we should. Because I know the Phoenix Force like awakens in her at the end of Apocalypse. That's right. How they beat them.
That's how they beat Apocalypse.
She Deus Ex Machina's Apocalypse with it. And then I think that's just it. And then I think that like I don't think she ever actually died.
No.
Yeah.
Well, now you got me questioning, man. Does she die at the end of Dark Phoenix? We have.
I know. I'm not going to watch it again.
No.
I would rather not know than have to watch it again. We have the technology.
We do have the technology.
Let's see. Who dies in Dark Phoenix?
Let's see. See, and even the internet doesn't know which movie I'm talking about.
Oh, she does. She sacrifices herself. But it's revealed in a voiceover that she evolved beyond humanity and didn't die. Wow.
Somehow that disappoints me. Yeah,
it's worse. Yeah, Mystique dying is the only good part of that movie.
That part was great.
Yeah,
and I was like, finally, like a happy ending here.
Yeah, and then it kept going for like another 60 minutes. And we were like,
God damn. So you said we'll probably be 45 before we see a movie that has X-Men in the title.
Yeah.
How old will we be before we see them try another crack at Phoenix?
Maybe never. Right? I mean, this is like, it just doesn't happen, you know?
Yeah.
It'd be like Sony re-releasing Morbius again. Like, no, for realsies this time. Yeah. They really want it.
They really want to see it for realsies.
I was trying to think of something else that's just bombed repeatedly. But
only Sony has had the balls to release a flop twice, the same flop.
Well, if this new Aragon is trash, then that'll be in contention. You know,
but at least it won't be like the exact same movie.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. Only Sony would release the exact same bomb twice. You know, Red One is gonna bomb, and that's really unfortunate.
Man, that is unfortunate because it's like. Yeah, by the time you guys hear this, the review is up for everyone now. Yeah. So, that movie wasn't trash.
I think it had a couple things going against it. Like, it's like right in the middle of like the big releases. You know, like Wicked is going to make bank, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's going to do gangbusters at the box office.
Right.
Hell, it might even be, I don't know like how wide of a release Wicked is getting, but it could be this year's third 1 billion.
What's the first one? Oh,
Inside Out.
Oh, okay.
Inside Out, Deadpool, Wolverine, and possibly Wicked, which is hilarious because Disney owns all three.
God damn. Yeah.
But yeah, those are the only billion with a B this year. Wait, isn't there a new bullshit Avatar coming out? Is that coming out this year?
No.
Next year?
Yeah.
Okay. Awful. I'm not going to see this one. I refuse to play. I refuse to play this game a third time. I didn't like it the first or second time.
Third time's a charm, man.
No, it's not. No. The third time was when I went to go see the second one again with you.
Yeah. Oh man, that shit was long.
Yeah, that I think that's the longest movie I've ever been to.
Like, look at the whales. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was terrible. That's like a 2-hour movie that feels like it's like 6 hours long.
Yeah, it goes on.
But yeah, I think it's going to be a long time, man, before we see them try to take on this story again. It's a difficult one to pull off.
So what Fox did with like Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, it's like they understood that in the comics there was a lot of setup and teasing going on in the background while another story is happening in the foreground. But it wasn't enough what they tried, you know. So they start in Apocalypse by teasing Jean having these nightmares or whatever of this Phoenix Force or whatever, and then it emerges and helps them beat Apocalypse. But it's still not enough when we go to the next movie, you know. So I mean, that's such long-term story planning. I guess if any company can do it, looking at the history, Marvel Disney is the one that can, but they would have to lead up to that in like a really long format way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think if you plan to do Dark Phoenix, right? Number one, I don't think you call it that, but I would have them introduce Jean from jump, knowing about the Phoenix. Like, I would have like a scene where like Reed Richards is like, we want to take you back to the lab and like study this power or whatever. Have a point in one of the movies where she like tries to use it and doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, it's going to be this big Deus Ex Machina thing, and then it doesn't work, and somebody else ends up beating the villain, whatever. And, you know, when you get to that point, you know, 2-3 movies down the line after introducing her, okay, like maybe you start off with this villain in the early part of the movie, and she does use it to beat them, but so she finally gets that moment where she gets to activate it.
Yeah.
And then, for whatever reason, after that, though, it's on.
Yeah.
And she can't control it. I think that'd be the way to go.
You know, I think that your original thesis might be right, though. We might never see it because, for 2 reasons, really. One goes back to the Chris Claremont panel. I'm pretty sure that you were there in that panel.
I wouldn't have missed that, no.
Yeah. There was a part of it where, and this is another reason why Chris Claremont is goated. He was talking about why he didn't like the Captain Marvel movie.
I know you loved this.
Oh, my goodness.
Chris Claremont talking about why Captain Marvel sucks is like straight up masturbation material for you.
Like, they had to kick me out, you know? But he talks about how, like, he's describing when she activates her binary form in that movie, and he goes, that is descriptory and like visually exactly what Jean does when she activates her Dark Phoenix. They straight up ripped that from Jean and they applied it here to Captain Marvel, to Carol. And he goes, and the other reason he didn't like it is because I think he did get something from like the X-Men movies because, you know, he wrote most of the shit that they were based on. But apparently there were some things, according to him, in that panel, there are certain things that the Dark Phoenix movie couldn't do because at that same time they were still making Captain Marvel.
Right.
And I never even thought about it from that angle until he said it. But so that's one reason why I like, because from a power scaling standpoint, there are probably some similarities there.
Right.
And then I look at Scarlet Witch and I look at her power scaling and like her immense power that she has. I don't know if they go back to that again, you know, which is unfortunate because like they do explore that, right? Like how they're like a yin and a yang, like the power of the Scarlet Witch and the Phoenix Force are like 2 opposing things, but I don't think they do that though.
Well, if we ever do a second Resurrections episode, I'm sure we'll be talking about Wanda in it one way or the other because they're definitely going to bring her back.
Right. Like right now, we're like waiting with bated breath.
Yeah.
You know?
I think I am cautiously excited for how they're going to handle that kind of witchy, magical corner of the Marvel Universe. So far, they got 2 hits.
Yeah.
So let's see how they keep it up.
Yeah. Vision Quest. I mean, I'm assuming it's got to be based off the graphic novel of the same name.
So you keep assuming things.
I know that's my problem. You know?
You keep assuming things like you didn't see Civil War.
And that's one of the best examples. You know, like yeah. But yeah, we'll see about old Vision Quest.
Yeah, I missed that Brave New World graphic novel where like Seth Rollins showed up. Is that in here? Do you have that?
You know, actually, that was not on the shelf nowhere.
Oh, okay. It's probably in your cart somewhere.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's somewhere.
Do we want to do one more?
Yeah, we'll do one more each.
Your turn, my turn? You did Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, I did Dark Phoenix.
Were you done? Did you have something else?
No, okay. No.
All right, my last one is like obvious as fuck. There's probably been people screaming at the camera the whole time. Like, oh, are you going to do this one? My last one is Jon Snow.
He was on my list.
Yeah. Oh, so is that your last one too? Or you got another one?
I can do one more.
Okay. Yeah. This one is, I cautiously put it in the meh category, right? Because the reasons that the death works so well is because this is like a main character. And it's in Martin's world where we know for sure that he is not afraid to kill anyone.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, 99.99999% of his plots result in mass murder. That's usually how it works. Like at the end of this arc, we're just going to kill everyone. Like either the protagonist or the antagonist will be killed.
Yep.
In mass. Usually it's the protagonist.
Yeah.
But the reason Jon Snow's death works so well is, we know that at this point in time, nobody was safe.
Yep.
Anyone could be killed at any time. So the death works. The reason that the Night's Watch turns on him makes sense.
I mean, they tell you all the way up till it happens, like you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even early on in like season 2, they're talking about these people like they don't exist. You know what I mean? If and obviously like this is like it's an allegory, right, for like the real world. They fucking killed Abraham Lincoln for the same shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you go and look through the whole story leading up to this, nobody's like, why did they do it? You can clearly see, that they're wrong. They're wrong for being a bunch of fucking bigots, and they're wrong for betraying their oaths. But, I mean, you kind of feel for some of them, especially the little kid. Yeah. Ollie, was that his name?
Ollie.
Where it wasn't that long ago that these people came and killed everyone that he's ever known. They slaughtered his entire village. They killed his family. They took away everything from this kid. And now he lives here. And don't get me wrong, I don't think Little House on the Prairie was like the best life.
Right.
But it was better than living at the wall.
Yeah.
So you take all of that into consideration, and then your Lord Commander is literally risking his life and your life to an extent just to save these people. And so you can understand from his point of view, and even some of the others, why they would feel this way with the limited information and limited worldview they have. They didn't have the internet.
Right.
They got a Raven.
Yeah.
And only the rich people had those. So you take that into consideration, and then you juxtapose that with the fact that nobody comes back to life.
Yep.
Thoros was able to bring...
what's his name?
Beric Dondarrion.
That's it. Yeah.
So in the books, actually, Beric has a lot more presence in the story. So He does lay the groundwork for Thoros of Myr bringing Barrett Dendarian back to life. He does lay the groundwork so that when it happens, it makes sense.
Okay.
But for the most part, these people stay dead, and and a lot of them die. Now, all of this sounds like an excellent resurrection arc, but as we talked about earlier, the key component here is there has to be something for them to do afterwards. And whether you consider that to be a hit or not really just depends on you and how you view the rest of the season or the rest of the show or the story. The books, if you think those will still be written, but they will not. I just want to point out that in the books, he's still dead.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how long ago it's been. He died at the end of, I think he dies at the end of book 4, if I'm not mistaken. Because book 5 and 6 or 4 and 5 are split. It's one set of characters and another set of characters. But I'm not entirely certain whether it's the end of book 4 than of book 5. But it's like the latest thing that happens in the timeline to Jon Snow, regardless of which book it's in. And yeah, he's still dead in the books.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, but so judging by what's in the show, the way I look at it from his resurrection, he does rally the northern houses. He does get the wildlings to work along with everyone else. He keeps thousands of them from being added to the Night King's army. He does retake Winterfell. So that they're able to stand against the Night King there. So he facilitates a lot of things. And honestly, at the end of the day, a lot of people said, well, like, what was he brought back to do, though, ultimately? Because, in the actual fight, at Winterfell against the undead, he was relatively useless.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But honestly, the way I see it is he was actually brought back to kill Dany.
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically him saving the realm.
Right.
At that point in time. And he did retake Winterfell and allow them to do a lot of things that I don't think could have been done otherwise without him. So, to me, I like his resurrection arc. My issues with Game of Thrones are almost entirely centered around Dany's fucking bullshit character decisions in season 8. So,
I mean, ultimately, I cannot say that I like Jon's resurrection simply because subverting expectations. This is when I learned to hate that phrase.
Oh, this is when?
I mean, Game of Thrones is really, for me, would really set that off.
Oh, not this specifically, though? Or just...
Well, not this specifically,
okay.
but this is a big part of it.
Okay.
I mean, so, like, granted, right? Like, I wanted to see the showdown between Jon and the Night King, and I wanted to see what that looked like, and I understand that by not doing that, it is a subversion. The problem is, it's very unfulfilling, and it's at least for me, it was. Jon had some very cool moments before his death, some very cool moments after his death. But in terms of like his complete character fulfillment, because ultimately like that's really what the resurrection is all about. Can this character fulfill whatever it is the story has it meant for them to do? To me, it doesn't. It falls flat along with damn near everything else in those later seasons. Like the conclusions for not just Jon, but for most of the characters, it's just so fucking flat and so uncreative and unimaginative.
Agreed.
So I do like your assessment, about why he was brought back, to kill Dany. The problem is like that's not what the prophecy was. Yeah. and so yeah, I just he just kind of felt like he was a placeholder protagonist, and really we could have put focus on other characters or other stories if they could have turned out better.
I mean, them shitting all over Dany's arc kind of ruins just about everybody around them.
It does.
You know?
Yeah.
Having her make these completely asinine decisions.
And based off of what, you know? And there are, if you want, and we don't have to go down this tangent, right? But if you want Danny to go all Mad Queen, then there's ways you can go about doing it. But the way they went about it was just so fucking wrong.
Yeah, you don't make her entire arc about her not being that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then like just on a whim, she's got everything that she wanted. The city surrendered and she's like, I'm just gonna kill all these innocent people.
Right.
You know what? Fuck it.
Yeah. Dracarys, motherfuckers.
Yeah. And it's not like a split second thing. It's not Tyrion shooting his dad with the crossbow because like obviously his dad deserved that shit and worse.
Yeah.
But Tyrion does regret it. Even after all the shit his dad did to him, Tyrion still, I think, has remorse for killing him.
Yep.
But it was in the heat of the moment, man. He had just found, what's her name? Shay in his dad's bed. Ugh. Oh, my God. Then killed her.
Yeah.
Slowly, too. Not like shot in the head. No, like slow, agonizing death.
Yeah. Oh.
Then he immediately walks in there to his dad. And his dad is like calling her a whore and all this other stuff.
Right.
And he's got the crossbow in his hand. You know? He
like in the court of law, he would probably get a good 20.
Yeah.
But he'd get out.
Yeah, crime of passion. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That didn't happen with Danny. She spent 30 minutes burning those people.
Right. Yeah. And like you said, the day was won, the battle was over. You know, she had everything. And she was like, nah, dog.
Literally, she had spent this whole time since she got back trying to take this city.
Yeah.
And then she burned it down. I mean, if you were going to do that, fly up to the Red Keep and melt that shit.
Right.
You know, I would have understood that.
And then also, like, what was the name of her friend? Was it Missandei?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe you pull the trigger on it after she's killed. You know, like immediately after she's killed. No. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was like episodes after that.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. But anyways, yeah, Jon Snow's resurrection, I can understand it for some of you guys if it's meh, and I understand for some of you guys if it's bad.
Yeah, for sure. Either way you feel about it, it's probably okay.
All right. So the last one then that we do on my list, Emperor Palpatine.
All right. Well, I don't know how I didn't think about this one.
Because somehow he returned, you see. This is a prime example of excellent storytelling in resurrection and bringing back beloved characters who certainly play a pivotal role in the overarching story. And I mean, so, you know.
I wish we had footage of Oscar Isaac reading that page from that day for the first time.
Oh.
You know, he had to have read it and been like, well, clearly the movie will explain somewhere else how this came about.
No, dog. that shit was not meant to be.
Somehow, Palpatine returned. They should have put that in the opening crawl.
Bruh. That should have been the name of the movie, Star Wars.
Somehow Palpatine returned. I mean, I get the Hail Mary to an extent.
They needed something, right?
They had to have something.
Yeah.
And Last Jedi left them with nothing.
Yeah. And it's true. Like, they were left with absolutely nothing after Last Jedi. That is true. But
they could have made up a brand new villain.
Yeah, I mean, and granted, that villain, hell, you had a villain at least with The Force Awakens, Kylo Ren. You know, you had a villain. And don't get me wrong, I understand, like, maybe the goal all along was to always turn Kylo. Okay.
I think it was, and I think it was horribly done.
Yeah. Oh, it was absolutely butchered. Right? Yeah. But The thing of it is, if that's always the goal, and then Snoke was a fucking bust.
Yeah.
You know? So you can't even go with that either. So what do? Like, okay, we got no Kylo. We got no Snoke. Who's going to be our big bad?
Yeah. I mean, the reason that Vader's redemption in Return of the Jedi works is because people are able to empathize with the fact that his son was able to bring him back to the light.
Yeah.
And even then, that shit still works better now that we have the prequels.
Right.
So the problem with Ben Solo is we have no idea who the fuck that guy is.
Yeah.
We know nothing about Ben Solo.
Nope.
And we still don't.
Still don't, yeah.
So when he came back to the light or whatever for some mid to terrible pussy, you know,
that's our next episode
that he never even got. Yeah, man, I just don't I don't know what he saw in Rey. Like maybe he stopped by her house and saw her Live, Laugh, Love poster and just really felt for her, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I can't get with the whole redemption arc for him at all.
No, and they tried, but it just as we've said so many times about Rise of Skywalker, right? Like everything they try is too little, too late.
Yeah,
there's certain seeds that should have been planted at least in The Last Jedi, but probably even in The Force Awakens.
Well, I think in Force Awakens they did kind of plant some seeds, but then Last Jedi just completely invalidates them all, right?
Yeah,
it made a point to invalidate them all.
And again, like this just goes back to several things, right, that was wrong with the movie making process for that trilogy. One, it wasn't made like a trilogy, even though they knew they had plans on making a trilogy.
Yeah.
It wasn't made like a trilogy.
Yeah, they didn't actually plan a trilogy.
Yeah.
They were like, we're going to do a trilogy. That was all the planning they did.
They said, it's got Star Wars name on it.
Yeah.
It's going to print money. All right.
Yeah, who do we got laying around? We got Colin Trevorrow. He made Jurassic World. Let's get him.
Well, and then on top of that, right, it's like, okay, you don't have a plan for your trilogy. That's bad enough. What's even worse is when you allow someone to come in and just completely invalidate what was set up and done in the previous movie.
And, you know, they never even, literally, Kathleen Kennedy never proofed Rian Johnson's script. Like, that's a fact. Like, he turned the script in and they were like, cool.
What?
Yeah. They were like, cool, go spend $250 million.
Imagine doing that with a Star Wars movie.
Like the thing you just paid $6 billion for. Let me tell you right now, this tea cost me $3. And if you picked it up and wanted to carry it to the next room, I'd ask you what you were doing with it.
I can't.
We are not the same.
That. Right. That's mind blowing to me.
It would be like if Kevin Feige called me and you up and was like, "Hey guys, write me a new Wolverine movie." We'd be like, "Okay,
all right,"
but like he's gonna proof that shit.
Absolutely,
because it might be trash.
Yeah. And he's gonna send it back to us and be like, "I need you guys to rewrite everything underlined in red, and like the pages are red."
Yeah, except for like Logan.
Yeah,
the name Logan is not underlined.
Right.
Yeah, he's gonna be like, "I have some notes." Yeah. On to your resurrection, though. I mean, it's a Hail Mary, right? They had nothing. They tried to do a redemption arc. So in Last Jedi, they tried to do one of two things, right? Either a redemption arc for Kylo or a turn for Rey.
Yep.
I would have personally liked to see either of them right there.
Yeah.
But they did the worst possible thing they could do. In
a double turn would have been...
Oh, it would have been incredible.
Yeah.
But like, they did the worst option out of everything. You know, on the Mass Effect wheel, they went all the way over. And they were just like, we're just going to do the dumbest option. And both characters just double down on their existing stances. So at that point, to me, either of them changing after that, it was going to be awful.
Yeah.
There was no way you could have him come back from the way that you end Last Jedi, because he just doubles down on being just evil as fuck.
Yeah.
For the sake of it. You know, this whole, oh, well, you know, we have to destroy the past or whatever. I'm like, all right, well, you already done killed Luke. Like, I mean, Luke's gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You already done killed Han.
Yeah.
Y'all already destroyed the Republic, so why are you still trying to kill these people? Unless you're just mustache twirling evil. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, that whole trilogy was so mismanaged that every time I think about it, it baffles me that Kathleen Kennedy still has a job.
Yeah.
After all these years. I mean, honestly, like, I know that this specific resurrection here is for Palpatine. Could be for Star Wars in general.
Fortunately, Star Wars had a great resurrection, but it was in Mandalorian.
Yeah. But in terms of, like, big screen resurrection,
it still hasn't happened.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's gonna. I'll be honest with you. When I hear there was a time where I was really excited, and I thought that you know, we were gonna get a lot more from Jon Favreau. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, man. I every time I think about it now, and every time I see them talk about it now, I feel like they're just gonna double down on the bullshit.
Yeah. Which is so mind blowing, right? Like I don't know, man. Like, when they got Star Wars, they being Disney, of course, the hype was already there.
Yeah.
And it's one of those situations, right? You know, we always relate a lot of things to wrestling. It's like the idea of Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. Like, they already had the crowd. As soon as the bell rang, all they had to do was keep them there.
Right. Same concept.
Same concept. Like, Force Awakens comes out. You already got the people there. All you got to do is keep them there. Then same thing with The Last Jedi. Except they couldn't keep them. And then we go on to Rise of Skywalker. Couldn't keep them. Or at that point, they were trying to get them back. But the damage is done.
It's kind of like, you know, a lot of people. I'm gonna make another wrestling analogy here, and this won't be that popular, but fortunately, it's at like the 2-hour mark. So, if you're still here at this point, you love us. You know, a lot of people consider John Cena to be a legend. There's even people that put him in the GOAT conversation. I don't understand.
I'm with you.
But if you're looking at it from a box office perspective, he was the face of the company during the biggest ratings decline in the history of said company. Mm-hmm. And they never recovered till he was gone. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they still haven't, you know, there's other factors there. Yep. They still aren't back up to where they were, but they're higher than they were when he was there. Yep. You know, and there's been a ton of work to bring those back up. And you also got to think too that the product was in more places then. Yeah. You know? So, you know, the cable, like, a lot of people have gotten away from cable in that time. But back then, there was way more people on cable. So you take all that into consideration, man. So when you look at it, it's kind of a similar thing here. You know, you have Force Awakens that it's still the highest grossing stateside movie by a long shot. The thing damn near cracked $1 billion stateside. I remember when Force Awakens came out, I went to the theater to see it 3 times. Mm-hmm. The third time I went to the theater to see it was probably 2.5 weeks after it came out. I went on like a Thursday at like 2 p.m. And that parking lot, you could barely find a place to park. I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Star Wars is Americana.
Yeah. And so you take all that. I mean, the nostalgia worked, right? Mm-hmm. But you have to go somewhere after that. So if you look at that and look at how much money they lost, and every Star Wars project now, this is the thing that didn't have to happen then. Now every Star Wars project has to start off by proving to us that it's not bullshit.
Yeah. They put themselves in that deficit.
They did. I mean, like, Andor, I mean, to me is, I mean, Agatha is the new Andor, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is a show that I'm like, nobody in their right mind should give a single fuck about this. Yeah. I didn't care about Cassian Andor in Rogue One.
Yeah.
I'm like, and you're not going to fucking make me care about him now. Wrong. Tremendous. You haven't seen it, right?
It's still on my list of things to watch.
It's tremendous. It's probably my second favorite Star Wars show. Behind Ahsoka, obviously.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I mean, it's like every single thing that comes out, they have to start out by proving to us it's not going to be a load of bullshit. Mm-hmm. And they put themselves in this situation with the sequel trilogy, with Kenobi. Acolyte has a bunch of hate, and I don't think the writing is good, but like it's at least them being willing to explore a completely separate area of Star Wars and invest in characters and ideas that people do want to see. And this is a fucking revelation. There's a cool ass lightsaber fight at the end. I can only be so mad if you give me that. And don't get me wrong, I realize that flies in the face of everything we usually talk about here.
A little bit.
But at the end of the day, if you give me a good lightsaber fight, I at least won't feel like I wasted my money.
See, now I'm not sure if you're still talking about Star Wars or if that's some kind of sexual innuendo.
Both is good.
Okay.
Yeah, both is good. Have a little lightsaber fight when we get done recording here.
Jesus Christ. Right in front of Junior, too.
Yeah, it'd be a great commercial, you know, and like your lightsaber starts to do the Obi-Wan thing from episode 4 where it's like flickering out, and then you take some Blue Chew and it... We'll make that commercial for you, Blue Chew.
Absolutely.
For the low cost of sponsorship.
That's right. And then with throwing some free dick and nips.
Yeah, free lifetime supply. We haven't talked about Palpatine specifically, but like... Yeah. I understand why you want to get Ian McDiarmid back, right? Like, he is the big bad. Mm-hmm. You know, this is like bringing back Sauron or, you know, any of these other, like, the Joker, you know. Yeah. He is the big bad of the Skywalker saga. And there's not that many super iconic villains in Star Wars, really.
It's true.
You have Palpatine.
Yep, you got Vader.
You have Vader. And, like, I would honestly say that after you drop down from them being the main two...
Would you go Dooku?
No, I honestly would say as far as, like, pop culture and, like, iconography, I'd probably have to go with Maul.
Okay.
And then probably Thrawn. And then, maybe Dooku after that, like Dooku, a steep drop to Dooku.
Then Grievous.
Yeah, I mean, and after that, man, you're dealing with Grievous. You're dealing with, you know, like, that. Then you're dealing with, like, Malik and, like, you know, video game stuff and stuff that's only in the expanded universe or the video games or whatever.
What happened to the Knights of the Old Republic movie?
Man, I don't know. Or the game. I don't know either. Either one.
I think if they were good, this is how you know that they didn't have any plans, right? Because if you want to do Palpatine for your second sequel, then I think you introduce him in like a stinger at the end of The Last Jedi. You know, and you don't even have to show him. It could just be you hear his voice, or there's something that strongly alludes to Palpatine still being alive and pulling the strings.
But it was super evident, as you said, that they never...
Yeah.
they never planned that.
Right.
Originally.
And, you know, it's like you said so many times, like, J.J. Abrams had to do so much just to make a somewhat passable movie. Because he has to make something that is the end of a trilogy, but also he has to start and set up so much as well, because there's no real starting point to come from.
And you can't wrap up these character arcs because they don't have any.
Exactly. And so you have to make up some shit.
They had everything working against them on this. Yeah. And also, your only remaining original trilogy character is dead in real life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, granted, that's that part is not their fault.
No, I'm just saying, like, Abrams had everything working against him imaginable for this movie.
Yeah.
He had to have, they had to put Daisy Ridley in it.
What if it was like, okay, question, can we... Hear me out. What if Ray wasn't in the movie?
Yeah. If we make Oscar Isaac and John Boyega's characters actually gay, which is what the internet wanted, and I would have been fine with, can we cut Ray out?
They would have been like, 2 non-white gays leading the movie. Fuck no.
Yeah. We got to have the great white in the front. God damn it. Fuck you, Disney. You ruined all our hopes and dreams.
God damn.
They wouldn't even pay off, like, we've talked about this at length, but Finn, with the best fucking backstory ever. Mm-hmm. Absolute trash.
Yeah.
It'd be like the most toxic player at your D&D table shows up with an intricate-ass, interesting backstory, and then it's just a murder hobo.
Right. Doesn't play into that at all.
And you're like, someone else wrote this.
Yeah, because you clearly didn't write this. There's no fucking way. Palpatine, I mean, like, he comes back just to be the evil opposition. Because, like you said, there was none by the time we got to this movie.
And he's one of the few characters that works as just pure mustache-twirling evil.
Yeah, he does. But, I mean, hell, even in the prequels, though, we get to see a different side of him, the more covert side of him.
Right.
And that really helps to build his mystique.
Nothing makes sense in this movie.
No.
It's like, why does he have a choir of Sith acolytes? And did he teach them Duel of the Fates? Wait, is there a behind the scenes where he's got like the conductor thing and he's like, teaching them the song? Like, do all Sith just know Duel of the Fates?
Well, he kills one every time they fuck it up, so they have to get it right.
Well, how are there so many? There are like 700 people in that choir.
Holy shit. He's like J.K. Simmons from Whiplash,
Also, where the fuck did he get the resources to build these mega star destroyers, like hundreds of them?
Caleb, listen, I don't know how else to explain this to you. Somehow, Palpatine returned.
I see. I forgot they put that line in there, and that makes it all fine. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Right.
All right. You see, along with him returning, like his big ass bank account returned as well.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
That's how he was able to afford all that and do all that shit, at least somewhat under wraps,
But of course. Yeah. Yeah, it all makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm just glad that we could actually defend this movie for once, because so many people just misunderstand it.
I think I might be one of those people because I'm not defending it. It's the least soggy shit sandwich they have over there.
Oh my gosh, and it's still very soggy.
Oh, it's still awful. Yeah.
I got nothing to say about Palpatine except it doesn't make any goddamn sense. All right.
Yeah, it makes the same amount of sense that the Fast and the Furious ones do,
right?
Which is none.
You get the same explanation.
We didn't have any ideas. That's the explanation.
That's the explanation. Yeah, we needed something to put asses in seats. And I guarantee you that somebody in marketing was like, people will show up wanting to know how Palpatine returned. That will get them there.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
Oh, man.
That... that, like, there was a moment where so I thought that this was the case. So, Chris Terrio actually wrote that movie with Abrams.
Ooh, what else is that person?
You're going to love this. He was a writer on the Justice League.
Oh, no.
Batman versus Superman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And Argo. So he made one good movie in his whole life. He wrote Argo, and Hollywood was like, "Great,
yeah, he must
you're
have
a
had,
genius."
You know, sometimes to get writing credits, you just need to, just be anything.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Argo.
So yeah, that or he just got really lucky, or he copied somebody else's shit, just plagiarized it.
Well, shit, Argo is based on like a true story.
That's true. I'm just thinking like maybe he met some guy at a bus stop, and the guy's like, "Oh, what do you do?" He's like, "Oh, I'm actually a writer for Hollywood. I just got done penning this movie." Oh man, that's crazy. And then like he gets Regina George, like that guy gets hit by the bus, and the papers just go flying everywhere. And this Chris Terrio dude's just like, "Huh?" And he just gathers them up. Yeah. It's like, oh yeah, I heard the scriptwriter you guys have for this movie died. Well, as it so happens, I just wrote a script kind of like this.
Yeah, I think you guys would really like it.
Yeah, here you go. And then he just ends up working on all these major franchises.
Man. God damn. Yeah, that's like, I'm drawing a blank on his name. The guy that like wrote Days of Future Past and like co-wrote Logan and
who's about to write a Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
For some reason, my mind tried to go Crispin Glover. Simon Kinberg.
Simon Kinberg.
Jesus Christ.
Crispin Glover. Damn, I don't even know.
I don't know where the fuck that came from. Like that's out of nowhere.
Like Back to the Future. That's what we do.
Yeah.
All right.
Just I don't know what. I don't know. I'm so sorry, folks.
But yeah, Simon Kinberg. That's the guy.
J.J. Abrams probably like read the script and he came busting in there. He was like, so we don't really explain how Palpatine comes back. And he was like, oh, you're right. Give me that. And he was just like, somehow Palpatine returned. Here you go. Fixed it.
He's like, the Force. Oh man. Okay. I think it's about time we wrap this up.
It is. We've gone into the depths. The deep depths.
Kale, you got anything else?
No, man, that's it. I actually really enjoyed this. I think this is that good content.
Yes.
I think this has been really fun. And I think tomorrow, when I go home tonight, I'll actually watch The Watchmen.
It's funny, like a prevalent question all throughout the Watchmen media is who watches The Watchmen? And apparently it's not Caleb.
It's not me. Because we were going to do The Watchmen tonight, and we were going to record this episode tomorrow. However, about 90 minutes before we were set to record, I realized that a crucial element had slipped past me and that I had not watched it. And I thought for a second, I was like, well, I could just come on and bullshit because if you know the story,
then you can.
But I was like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Because if I catch a whiff of it, I'm going to throw a Hail Mary in there.
Oh, I know. Yeah. There'll be like some big ass change that they made in the thing. You'd be like, so what do you think about that part where, Michael J. Fox shows up? What?
Yeah. Like, I got you. Okay. But, homie, so you guys got that to look forward to as well. We'll be doing The Watchmen Part 1. Just in time for us to do Watchmen Part 2. And then after that, we'll be doing some Doomsday Clock. And also the button along with it because
it's excellent and short.
That's what she said.
Hey.
I was like, I appreciate that, girl.
Yeah.
I'll take what I can get.
A lot of short kings out here.
But that's going to be all for now, homies. Thank you guys again for listening in. And as always, if you guys have any kind of questions, comments, gifts, threats, food, supplies, you can hit us up at superherohomies@gmail.com or any of the social media outlets. We're always active, live, and listening. Even if Caleb forgets to read your comments, I got you. And also, don't forget to check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/superherohomies. That is the place you guys can go to get early access to all the content, and it also helps us out a lot too here as well. That will be all for this one, but we'll see you guys again very soon. But until next time, my name is Superhero Homie Q.
And I have no intents to read your comments, and I'm Superhero Homie Caleb.